To all of you. I'm Ilaria Reposo, Director of Print Club and co-coordinator, artistic coordinator of Graphic Days with Fabio Guida. And we are very happy and proud to officially open Eyes on the Netherlands, finally, our special event for this year. Maybe not all of you know that the partnership with the Netherlands started 3 years ago, thanks to the support of the Embassy and the Consulate General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Italy, that proved to keep in great consideration our mission. This can be said especially for the project Eyes on Netherlands that arose after we met, discussed, and imagined with the curator Dennis Elbers from Graphic Matters a series of events to create together. Last year, we hosted the artist Ilse Weisfeld for an art residency, and soon the artist Andrea from the collective Guerrilla Spam will go to Breda to complete the exchange.
Buongiorno a tutti, io invece parlerò in italiano così almeno sono sicuro che mi capiate. Io ci tenevo a ringraziare anche chi da sempre ha sostenuto le attività del nostro ente, la città, Compagnia di San Paolo e tanti enti culturali che anche vedo qui presenti in sala, con la quale abbiamo costruito e costruiremo. Guardo il Goethe Institute e tanti altri partner, Camera di Commercio, con la quale abbiamo fatto e costruito progetti culturali che sono sempre stati la parte fondamentale della costruzione delle sinergie sul territorio per aprirsi a nuove prospettive, sia nazionali che internazionali. È proprio da questo che il nostro ente ha fatto nascere il progetto Graphic Days, un progetto che basa il suo concept sull'internazionalità, che perseguiamo fin dalla prima edizione. La realizzazione di eventi di ampio respiro rappresenta infatti la volontà principale dei Graphic Days, che si vogliono porre come cassa di risonanza per il territorio, cercando di creare nuovi indotti culturali ma anche economici, di tessere relazioni che siano in grado di costruire rapporti attraverso la cultura con progetti che abbiano una ricaduta sociale diretta sul tessuto. Oggi c'è la presentazione di Eyes on Netherlands, che è il progetto che trae origine dai primi progetti che abbiamo realizzato con questo concept, Eyes on, ma che oggi vede una particolare focus su l'Olanda, costruendo un nuovo format, staccandosi da quello che era il progetto sulle nazioni all'interno del festival che abitualmente facevamo a settembre-ottobre e spostandolo, rendendolo più identitario, più forte, perché normalmente all'interno delle comunità che andiamo a indagare ci sono talmente tanti significati, talmente tante progettualità che meritano un focus dedicato. Così è stato questo momento per l'Olanda. L'Olanda segue una serie di altre nazioni che sono state la Spagna, da Varsavia e quindi la Polonia, da cui è nato anche un cambio di direzione molto più intenso e forte, perché la nostra associazione culturale Print Club è inserita come ente culturale all'interno di una rete internazionale di enti culturali o festival che si occupano di visual design europei. Da lì poi il focus è passato alla Romania, alla Cina con la Camera di Commercio qualche edizione fa. L'idea è quella di continuare a concentrarci su queste progettualità. È notizia di qualche settimana fa che abbiamo vinto con il nostro partner ucraino Pictoric un bando del Ministero degli Affari Esteri ucraino, e quindi a settembre ci sarà un focus proprio dedicato all'Ucraina.
Okay, it's my turn now. I will try and translate all the words that Fabio said before. Actually, we have a trick. I have them written down, so I don't have to keep them in mind. Okay. So, an international character is one of our distinctive qualities, and we follow this direction since the first edition of our festival. The achievement of events that go beyond our national borders, just like this one, in fact, represents our will for the project Graphic Days to be an echo chamber for our society, facilitating new opportunities and new visions on an economic and cultural scale with, as a result, the constitution of a more and more stronger international network. Eyes on the Netherlands is a type of event that is born inside the Graphic Days format called Eyes On, the project that every year is dedicated and focused on a foreign country, with the goal of converting through exhibitions, installations, and performances the results of a collaboration between the city or the nation involved in the focus. The development over the years of our format allowed us to reach out to existing networks like Image, the international meeting about graphic events, which Print Club Torino became part of during the collaboration with the city of Vasa. This encounter allowed us to build solid relationships with institutions and creative entities that are part of this network. Up to now, the nations involved in these exchange programs have been Spain, Poland, Romania, China, Netherlands, and Ukraine, to who we are going to dedicate the next Eyes On, focused during the 6th edition of our festival in September in collaboration with the Ukrainian Institute and Pictoric Association. Thanks.
Graphic Days ha un'altra caratteristica che percorre fin dall'inizio, quella di osservatorio bidirezionale, ci piace chiamarlo, nel senso che stiamo giornalmente con il nostro staff composto da tantissime persone internazionali di valore, monitorando la cultura visiva per cercare di portarla nel territorio in modo che sia stimolo di relazioni e di contaminazione. Bidirezionale perché? Perché da 2 anni stiamo producendo anche delle mostre a livello curatoriale che hanno l'ambizione di essere un osservatorio sulla cultura visiva italiana, per poter essere poi oggetto di visibilità all'estero, cioè portare quello che è il progetto, la progettualità italiana all'estero. È notizia di nuovo di poche settimane fa che la nostra mostra curatoriale singolare e plurale che abbiamo esposto a settembre, che guardava la cultura visiva della tradizione contaminata con l'innovazione in Italia, sarà esposta alla Design Week a Bucarest durante i giorni del design in Romania. Prego.
Thanks, Fabio. Graphic Days is constantly engaged in the observation and research for quality expressed by project based on cultural values and social impact, a kind of permanent survey able to perceive the continuous mutations in the visual design domain. And in the meantime, through the projects we carry on, be capable of becoming an example and a reference point for Italian visual culture. An happy example in this sense is the evolution of the collaboration between the Institute, the main sponsor of the Romanian Design Week in occasion of Eyes on Romania in 2019. The event has been the starting point for a successful cultural and artistic exchange that will bring to Bucharest Singolare Plurale, the exhibition curated by Graphic Days dedicated to Italian regionalism in the visual field. Thanks again.
Today, we inaugurate Eyes on the Netherlands, and we are honored to be able to collaborate in spreading a culture of design that can reach everybody, showing the finest example on a worldwide scale. The event will last 15 days and includes a dense calendar of activities dedicated to professionals of the field, students, and design lovers. Richard Niessen later will present the exhibition, An Alphabet of Cases. The exhibition is the result of a collaboration between Graphic Matters and the Palace of the Typographic Masonry, the research project about visual design that Niessen has been investigating for many years now and shown here for the first time in its complete version. I would like now to invite on the stage Désirée Bonis, the ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Italy. Please.
Grazie Marta. Sì, come ambasciatore dei Paesi Bassi in Italia voglio dare un saluto e estendere un ringraziamento a tutti i partner che hanno sostenuto questo fantastico progetto, in particolare all'assessora alla cultura di Torino, Francesca Leon. Grazie, madame. Inoltre, un grande grazie a Ilaria Reposo, direttrice di Print Club Torino, e a Fabio Guida, coördinator di Graphic Days. Natuurlijk wil ik ook heel graag goedenavond zeggen tegen mijn landgenoten, Dennis Elbers en Richard Niessen, al genoemd, curator van de Palace of Typographic Masonry, en aan Esther de Vries, die hem begeleidt. We krijgen nog meer Nederlandse artiesten die overkomen naar Turijn voor dit festival, Graphic Days. En dat is voor ons als ambassade geweldig om te steunen. Ik heb meegenomen vanuit, I brought with me from Rome our cultural attaché Bas Ernst, and we have from our consulate general in Milano, our colleague Stefano Musilli here. So I'm glad to be in a big delegation to participate here in this wonderful event in Torino. And we're also very proud to have a wonderful consul general, it's consul honorary consul, sorry, Mr. Oreste Accornero, sì, è difficile per me, Accornero, who has accompanied me today during a wonderful visit here in Torino. So thank you so much. Signore e signori, mi fa molto piacere essere qui a Torino. È la mia prima visita in questa importante città, così ricca di storia e di significato per l'Italia. Oggi ho avuto una serie di incontri con varie realtà che mi hanno un'altra volta mostrato l'importanza che riveste il settore culturale e creativo come volano dell'economia in Italia. Il contributo di Torino a tutta la zona del nord-west allo sviluppo in Italia. Ho notato un particolare ruolo forte del settore della comunicazione e del design, il tema non per caso di questo festival. Oggi siamo qui al Print Club Torino per celebrare l'inaugurazione della mostra Eyes on the Netherlands. Faccio i complimenti ai curatori, a tutto lo staff di Graphic Days per la realizzazione del festival. Auguri a tutti. So I've given it my best try, and if you allow me, I will now continue in English. So, okay, thank you for that. We are, you want to translate again, sir? No, yes? Okay, come vuole. As the Dutch embassy in Rome and the Consulate General in Milano, we are very proud of Eyes on the Netherlands. This project is the result of the vision and the hard work of its curators, of the invited designers, and of the print club Torino. But it's also the result of a fruitful collaboration between the festival and our embassy and our consulate. Since 2019, we have been collaborating with Graphic Days, presenting Dutch graphic designers to Torino for different reasons. First, Graphic Days is an important venue, location for visual culture to showcase and to discuss the latest developments, followed by professionals, which permits exchange of ideas and experiences with relevant audiences. Second, there are important historical ties between our two countries, Italy and the Netherlands, in the graphic sector. I would like to mention one of them. An important protagonist of the Italian graphic design sector was born in Amsterdam. And I'm talking about Bob Noorda, who designed the brand logo of Co-op, who collaborated with Touring Club Italia, and who designed the subway signage in Milano, just to name a few of his well-known projects. In general, there has always been a strong interest in Dutch graphic culture in Italy. And for that reason, over the years, we've been supporting exhibitions, talks, and conferences across the peninsula. Third and last reason, we think that Italian and Dutch design are complementary. The Italian creative sector and the quality of made in Italy are an inspiration for many Dutch professionals. And in various creative fields, Dutch designers work with Italian manufacturers. At the same time, Dutch design is a strong brand in Italy, considered innovative and practical. Some even call Dutch designers radical pragmatists. As the great designer Wim Krauwel once said, of course, design is about problem solving, being pragmatic and trying to find a solution for a problem. But I cannot resist to adding something personal to the object. And I think Eyes on the Netherlands exemplifies perfectly this Dutch mixture of problem solving and a personal touch, showed perfectly to the Italian public now and proudly presented here in these Graphic Days 2021. Today is a special day, and I think thanks to the huge effort of our citizens and of our health organizations, the health services in Italy, in the Netherlands and other countries, we are now slowly getting out of this pandemic. It gives new perspective to the cultural sector, because I think the cultural sector is one of the economic branches that has suffered most from Corona. And if you look at big museums, we just happened to visit this beautiful Egyptian museum that you have here in Torino. And normally they have 12,000 visitors a day. And then to go to zero and have no income, it's a disaster. So it was terrible to see, but also hopeful to see now that they have 1,500 visitors back every day now. So we saw school classes again, things are picking up. We have some physical presence here. It's online too. So I think this hybrid form will stay probably in future events as well. And hopefully we'll leave Corona behind us once and for all, sooner than later. So here we open Graphic Days today in Turin. And at this moment, we're also supporting the opening of another show by the Amsterdam-based design studio Forma Fantasma, founded by two Italians in the museum Centro Pecchi in Prato. And the two events that the embassy has supported are the start for us of a new season in which we will collaborate with some of the most renowned cultural organizations in Italy, presenting a variety of contemporary cultural manifestations. And we're so much looking forward to starting up again all these activities. Next week, when the Biennale, the Architectural Biennale will be opened in Venice, and I hope to be there, we will announce our new cultural program with Italy that we will be running from this summer until the winter. And let's hope it will be a success and a lively program. Eyes on the Netherlands is supported by the Creative Industry Fund Netherlands and the Pictorite Fund, which is the authors' rights organization for visual creators in the Netherlands. Also supported by the Embassy and various other partners, Eyes on the Netherlands presents a rich program of online presentations, workshops, exhibitions. I'm sure that, Dennis, where are you? I can't, yeah, the light is rather sharp. Dennis Elbers and Richard Niessen will elaborate on the details of the project. We love to support projects like this, and for those of you that are interested in working with us, please reach out to me, myself, to my colleagues in the consulate, in the embassy, because we're happy to discuss new cultural ideas with you. And there are always new initiatives to develop. Now, let me conclude by thanking again Ilaria and Fabio and Dennis and Richard. I wish you a wonderful festival, and I thank you for your kind attention as the audience. Let us now set eyes on the Netherlands. Thank you.
Si può togliere? Buonasera a tutte e tutti. Porto innanzitutto i saluti della sindaca Chiara Appendino, che purtroppo oggi non può essere presente, e insieme a lei do il benvenuto nella nostra città ai nostri ospiti olandesi. In particolare ringrazio per la sua presenza Désirée Bonis, per essere venuta, per aver anche trovato del tempo per visitare un pochino la città. Ringrazio il console onorario di essere presente, ringrazio Dennis Elbers, direttore di Graphic Matters, ringrazio Richard Niessen, autore del The Palace of Typographic Masonry, e ringrazio tutti voi perché siete i protagonisti di questa avventura. Fabio è ormai abbiamo con lui ormai un colloquio abbastanza fluente nel corso del tempo, e quindi ringrazio anche lui. Lascio la traduzione dei ringraziamenti e dei saluti.
So, good evening to all of you. I bring the greetings from the mayor, Chiara Appendino, that cannot be here this evening, but she says hello to all of you. And I would like to thank Désirée Bonis, not only for being here in a role, but also for giving some time to explore our wonderful town, Torino, and be able to see museums and how pretty our town is. I would like to thank the consul being here, and Richard and Dennis, and of course Fabio and all the organization of Torino Graphic Days, with who we have now a good relationship that we created through our years.
Forse tutti non sanno che Torino è città creativa UNESCO per il design, e nell'ambito delle attività legate al design e alla rete delle città creative UNESCO, Graphic Days è per noi un punto di riferimento importante delle attività legate alla conoscenza e alla valorizzazione del tessuto del design della nostra città.
Yeah, maybe not all of you know that Torino is a UNESCO design creative city
of design.
Of design, thanks for that. Wonderful translation. And so Graphic Days became one of the reference points in terms of knowledge and spreading of culture of this particular subject.
ma ha anche un altro ruolo molto importante, Graphic Days, e i promotori e gli organizzatori e i curatori. La cosa importante è l'energia che sviluppano ogni volta che mettono in campo un nuovo progetto, è la capacità di tessere relazioni internazionali, ma nello stesso tempo includere il tessuto produttivo della nostra città.
An overall that is represented by Torino Graphic Days, apart from being promoter, organizer, and curator of this festival, is provided by the energy that is expressed by the organizers. Energy that develops in multiple ways, like not just building international relationships, but also to being able to integrate with the community and with the territory that surrounds us on a national scale.
Per noi ha un significato particolare, Eyes on the Netherlands, perché i due paesi, l'Italia e l'Olanda, si troveranno a breve a dover lavorare per le candidature alla capitale europea della cultura. Questo lavoro, che vedrà in competizione tante città nei due paesi, ci impone la necessità di stringere relazioni più strette con l'Olanda, relazioni che sono aperte già da questo, diciamo, a partire da questa attività, ma che credo possano essere sviluppate nel corso degli anni su tanti aspetti, graphic design, ma io penso anche alle arti performative, agli scambi museali tra le nostre magnifiche collezioni. Quindi credo che una maggiore conoscerci oggi qui può essere un primo passo per stringere una relazione più forte con il vostro bellissimo paese.
Wow, I cannot read what I wrote. Sorry. So Eyes on the Netherlands is one, let's call it one starting point of one that we would like to be a big opportunity so that we can create more profound relationship and bonds with the Netherlands. This because of the candidation as the European capital of culture. So the aim is to manage to collaborate even more. So starting from getting to know each other now and getting more deeply, yes, into the graphic design, but maybe also into other types of art, like performative arts. So this would like to be just the first step to get to know each other better and better so that we can work more proficuously together.
E quindi io ringrazio davvero Fabio Guida, perché è come è un anticipatore, è un costruttore di ponti. E il ponte con l'Olanda è importante, costruire relazioni efficaci con l'Olanda, ma appunto hanno una programmazione di relazioni internazionali che si sviluppa di anno in anno, e all'avvio del nuovo settennato europeo credo che sia fondamentale lavorare come sta lavorando Graphic Days, che non lo fa solo per sviluppare un festival, ma mette a disposizione della città relazioni, progetti, possibilità di sviluppo. Per noi questo è più quello che Graphic Days dà alla città rispetto a quanto la città dà Graphic Days, quindi noi siamo molto grati a tutto il loro lavoro. buon festival.
You want me to translate that, Fabio? But these were all compliments for you. Do you want them? Okay, so many, many thanks to Fabio. That is not just the organizer of the festival, but he's a bridge builder between nations. So he's bringing a lot to this town, and this for us is a fundamental opportunity and a very fine touch that adds value to the city of Torino. So thanks, Fabio. We love you.
Io ci tengo a sottolineare che tutto il lavoro io ci tengo a sottolineare, perché non voglio che sia dato assolutamente per scontato, che il lavoro che facciamo lo facciamo in coordinamento costante, a braccetto, day by day, con Ilaria Reposo, che è coordinatrice insieme a me di tutte le iniziative che facciamo. Questo deve essere chiaro a tutti. E lo facciamo grazie a uno staff di persone bravissime e molto molto valide. Grazie.
Yeah, I will translate this in only one word: teamwork. Okay, now we would like to invite Dennis on the stage. Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. Actually, today I feel very happy, but also a bit sad. Sad because back home, much is reopening except for museums, which is a bit weird because I think people need inspiration in times like these. So that's why I'm very happy to be able to visit an exhibition in real life here in Torino. Yeah, last days has been a pleasure to finally practice my profession in a way that I should do. First of all, I'd like to thank the people that made possible this whole project. Of course, the Creative Industries Fund, Pick the Right Fund, the municipality of Breda, who's been supporting us for over 15 years right now, and also the Dutch Embassy. But very much and most of all, the very professional and kind staff of Graphic Days. It's been a real pleasure working with such a professional team and such a dedicated team. And I think they've done a really nice job pulling this off. Let's not forget also to thank Daan Rietberg, who's also one of the artists that we're presenting. Has a very nice exhibition, but also Richard Niessen that put in so much work over the past few months. I think it's almost impossible, the amount of work that he's done together with Esther, and I think the whole family was sort of collaborating on this without any choice, I think. Richard will tell you more about the exhibition. You know, the reason why I founded Graphic Matters is actually, like, we teach our children in school to write and to read, but nowadays they communicate through image, you know, and they need someone to explain, and not just the children, also all of you, I guess, need someone to explain, you know, what graphic design is and who's doing it and why. Because graphic design has a lot of influence on our thoughts, on our behavior, but it also has a large impact on dealing with current issues that are very important. And I think festivals like this really help expressing, you know, this mission. So it was a pleasure working with a like-minded organization that shares our mission, and that we can make such a nice event here. And when you're invited for a project like this to be co-curating Eyes on the Netherlands, it makes you wonder, what is Dutch design at the moment? And actually, I'm not sure if I know. I think we present a very broad perspective on what it is, but what I find very important for designers, not only in Holland, but everywhere, is to have self-initiated projects. You know, of course, the commissioned work pays the bill, but to really define your practice and to find out how you as a designer can contribute to the current society is through self-initiated projects. So it was a huge pleasure to invite Richard presenting his self-initiated project and taking it to the next level. And I think when I first approached him, he was a bit scared about my question, like, what? But I think in the end, yeah, we really got to a next level with a project, and hopefully we'll be able to present it in many more places like Torino, because this really shaped not only the practice of designer, but also the profession of all designers everywhere, also here in Torino. So as a curator, I made myself easy. I found it difficult to answer what is Dutch design at the moment. So I just asked a designer acting as a curator to make a show. So I think it's time for Richard to explain about how and why he did this. Thank you.
It's a good opportunity to leave off the... Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yes, thank you for all these words and thank yous. I'm also very honored to be here and happy to be able to continue the quest that we all share. I will quickly see if this works. Yeah. So why I'm here is because one of the exhibitions is called the Alphabet of Cases from the Palace of Typographic Masonry. I am a graphic designer myself, working independently in Amsterdam. And for commissioners, I make posters, books. Oh, which way? Oops. Where do I have to point? Yeah. No, it doesn't work smoothly. Where? Where do I have to point exactly? Ah, there. Yeah, it works better. Books, identity. Oh, I have to go the other way. Identities, flags, and even coins. And I do this for 25 years now. I graduated in 1996. And my work is often exhibited, and I had the opportunity to design a few overview exhibitions of my work, of which this is TM City, which I made in 2007, and which was also a traveling exhibition. And this was another exhibition I made 7 years later, which could also travel. But besides working for commissioners and designing my own exhibitions, I always initiated projects myself. And Dennis was already mentioning that this is often a nice catalyst for your own practice. And it's also a way to satisfy my own curiosity. So in 2015, I started a project which is called the Palace of Typographic Masonry. And this is my own museum for graphic design. I found it necessary to realize an institute that makes a plea for the richness and diversity of the graphic languages. Because I think, and I share this vision with probably most of you, I think it's really important to be aware of the role graphic design plays, what it plays in visual culture, how that is connected to our society today and in the past, but also what will happen in the future. Because it might not be, not enjoy a very high profile, graphic design. You never read something about graphic designers in the newspapers, for instance. Still, our discipline or our profession has a very long history and has constantly played a key role in the development of human societies. If we start our profession with the invention of writing, for instance, which started some 5,000 years ago, ever since, graphic design has continued to have a major impact on our public space, which is our shared environment. And maybe even more today than ever before, since these graphic messages are omnipresent when you go on the street or on the internet. But let's go to the Netherlands, because this year's edition has its eye on this country. In the 1980s and 1990s, the Netherlands was seen as a graphic paradise for design in public space. You can see here the beautiful banknote of Ootje Oxenaar. So we were actually paying with these artworks, which was amazing. But it's good to realize that this was and it is not the natural state of the craft in our country. It is because of this guy, who is called Jean-François van Rooyen, who started to work for the Dutch Postal Service in 1904. And this Mr. van Rooyen was fascinated by the printed arts. He had his own private press and was far from impressed by what the state had produced so far as print work. And this is a quote by him. He said, "Let's stick to 3 words. The state's printed paper is ugly, ugly, and ugly." And convinced that art could be used to uplift the masses, Van Rooyen started to work with some of the leading artists and designers of his day and improved the service's printed materials. And this postal service even set up a dedicated department of aesthetic design. And driven by a firm belief that design would serve a public good, this department strove to commission designs that were special, poetic, innovative, or alienating, and that contributed to the development and the visualization of new values and new ideas. And this vision spread from this postal service out to all governmental organizations, public institutes, and even market parties. So when I was studying at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy from 1990 to 1996, I was still surrounded by the spirit of this idea. And I was thrilled to be able to be part of this profession in the awareness that this formative design was to the benefit of society. While I was in art school, I was surrounded by art exhibition posters full of visual poetry. Posters that stopped me in the street. Formal ones like these by Wim Krauwel, but also political ones like the work of Jan van Toorn, or a more poetic approach. Oh, where is it? Yeah, these posters by Anton Beke, or the graphic inventiveness by Ghislain Escher, or the even ironic posters. Who would imagine today that Piet Mondriaan would be depicted in such a funny way by a graphic designer? So when I cycled around town, I would be confronted with posters that announced a theater production, but all at the same time appealed to my political sensibilities. This is a poster Anton Beke made for the theater group Amsterdam, and it was inspired, or it was a sort of a referencing this famous Benetton advertisement. So it was also, a sort of a visual narrative that was followable on the street. or posters that would, in contrast, stimulate my imagination, like the posters Lex Reitsma made for the Dutch opera, or Mavis and van Deurzen for the contemporary dance program. And each year, there was the announcement of the documentary film festival in Amsterdam, with posters that were designed by Jan Bons. And each year, this character returned on the street. It was really like a clear signal in the city, and a sort of an encounter with an old friend each year. And we paid with these beautiful coins. These were designed by Bruno Nienaber, and their design reflected an open and self-aware society. Or, as I shown before, these beautiful banknotes designed by Ootje Oxenaar, followed by these amazing banknotes by Jaap Drupsteen that never ceased to amaze me. And the stamps issued by this Dutch postal service were always miniature masterpieces. There was an understanding that graphic designers needed the freedom to create beautiful designs. And a well-designed product was thought to benefit the community. And companies like this Dutch Postal Service propagated this philosophy by setting an example. Actually, this Ootje Oxenaar, who was designing the banknotes, he became head of this aesthetic service. And one of his quotes that he would always give to his to the designers that he worked with was, "Don't forget the poetry." And as a cherry on the cake, in Amsterdam at least, we would have each year the surprising posters hung up to advertise the Holland Festival, which was also a beautiful tradition. So these posters often function as a question mark. And design played a formative role in which designers could incorporate and translate the sometimes unheard voices of the citizens around them. And you might say that the representation of society was built from the bottom up in a process of active exchange. But now, since the 1990s, under pressure of efficiency and market thinking, the poetry and the digressions of graphic design has been driven out of the graphic production. Citizens became clients, and communication with this group needed to be frictionless. And this is what I hear from the communication departments of museums, theater groups, or governmental organizations today. In other words, this playtime of the designers is over. The designers have been expelled from paradise, and we have to grow up and behave to the norm of our nowadays society. And this Atlantis, or this paradise of graphic diversity, is now overwhelmed by a flood of efficiency requirements. And this leads to another kind of design, a design that takes on an illustrative role. And today, when I do the same round cycling in Amsterdam, I see a different kind of graphic design. I see museums that brand themselves in the public space with univocal posters. So whether it's the Stedelijk Museum, the Rijksmuseum, or the Van Gogh Museum, the message needs to be put across in the clearest terms possible. Otherwise, as the communication department probably thinks, the folks won't get it. And the audience is targeted as consumers, like a fashion brand. These are the posters nowadays of the National Ballet. Or the commissioner wants to communicate far more possible than fits on the poster. This is what happened to this beautiful series of Jan Bons for the International Documentary Festival in Amsterdam after he passed away. So first they tried all kinds of things with these cameras, and then the camera even disappeared. And I see theater posters that constantly position the names of well-known actors and actresses. This is what happened to the cultural production of the Toneelgroep Amsterdam. So these posters don't translate the themes of the performance to the public sphere. They simply repeat what is already familiar, what comes by every single time. And another nice example is our new, well, not so new today anymore, coins of the head side that were designed by a photographer called Erwin Olaf with the aid of a Photoshop filter. And I have no idea what this design is trying to express. Let's go to the typography of this coin, because Erwin Olaf was proud to admit that he used a free font that he found on the internet, a typeface called Days, which was actually a display typeface that was especially designed for very large sizes, which of course a coin not really is. So what does it mean when a Ministry of Finance is responsible for a coin with a wonky free font in a country with an immense tradition in type design? But it gets worse, because take our new King's stamp for Willem-Alexander, made by the design collective Studio Job. It does not use a Dutch crown, but an English one, of all things. And of course, this faulty iconography is probably meant as a joke, since this is a bit the trademark of Studio Job. But no one at the Postal Service had noticed it, because they're probably more busy with commercial issues. There's no aesthetic service anymore, no one to check the significance of these things in design. So the only people that are left are managers and marketing advisors. And as a final twist of the screw, we have the Holland Festival posters put up each year, the last years, and it's the same formula every time around. So there's no sense of poetry, no straying off the beaten path. They go right down to business, and there's nothing strange or unexpected. In other words, it's a totally meaningless experience. It's graphic design not as an exclamation mark, not to create a dialogue. It's graphic design. The graphic design discipline is more and more used to smooth over unsettling content and to put a brave face on everything that passes its way. And it's young, and it's clean, and it's happy, and it's very flexible, and it's pretty undefined, and it's sort of a complete cliche of what the creative industry is. So this is my concern. Everything starts to look and work the same. The citizen is addressed as a consumer in the same monocultural way. It's a form of communication that avoids any bump on the road. It's just moving into one direction. And then you could say, what is the problem? This is just how society develops. But as Naomi Klein puts it a few years ago, perhaps one of the most significant effects of the neoliberal era is the current lack of imagination, giving rise to the idea that the status quo is inevitable. The same thing that Margaret Thatcher wanted to achieve with her slogan, "There is no alternative." But we all know that there's a danger in this homogeneity, when there is no alternative, which is the opposite of a diversity of possibilities. In nature, diversity means a palette of alternatives. It's a necessity to survive. And what counts for nature also counts for culture. When we have a mode of communication that lacks aspects of fantasy or moral impact, it is not a vehicle for the imagination. And while more than before we need imagination, and we need to imagine these alternatives, and we also need to be able to imagine a rich and diverse shared narrative as a society, we are heading in the wrong direction, to my opinion. So that is why I started in 2015 this personal initiative to start an institute to make a plea for the richness and diversity of graphic languages. And I called it, for several reasons, the Palace of Typographic Masonry. The first thing I did was to imagine the 5 main building blocks that represented the 5 goals of the palace, and it happened to have this shape. So putting them together, and still very much a mess since this building is constantly under construction, this was the first visual output of the Palace of Typographic Masonry. a first sign of life, a silk-screened poster as its first manifestation 5 years ago. In these 5 years, after these fundaments, I created a structure in which each aspect of the profession can get its own space. And these are interconnected into 9 departments. And you can see them here, sign, symbol, and ornament as sort of the basic elements of the graphic designer. Construction, poetics, and play as sort of the tools to work with these basic elements, and order, craft, and practice as the context in which this all happens. So when I imagined this Palace of Typographic Masonry, its 5 basic bricks, and its structure of 9 departments, it was time to add rooms and spaces. And each new room in this endless building starts with a source collection. I depict and describe each item on an index card. And when the items are on display in the palace announces the new space with a poster, invites people to come and see, and the palace creates signage as a souvenir, publishes its content in booklets, publications, card sets, and videos, organizes workshops, lectures, and so on. And throughout these last 5 years, I have invited over 25 colleagues of mine to collaborate with me to realize this output. Besides this, the palace also functions as a sort of clubhouse from which I can represent the profession. To give an example, 2 years ago, I sent 4 letters to the Minister of Culture to point out the importance and the intrinsic values of the graphic design profession. So far, the palace consists of more than 30 spaces. 9 of them are described in this 346-page guide to the building. And by now wandering through this Palace of Typographic Masonry, this walking through all these spaces and departments, it can be experienced as an immersion into the wonders of graphic design. Visiting these 9 departments and their multitude of spaces feels like being initiated in a sort of alternative design theory. But unfortunately, especially in these times, not everyone can visit this infinite building dedicated to the splendor and variety of graphic languages. So I was very happy to be invited by Graphic Matters and Graphic Days to be able to design a traveling chest of drawers that provides insight to this expanding collaborative project. And each of these drawers houses a selection of physical objects connected to a particular space in the palace. The complete collection is disclosed by index cards on the transparent covers of the cases. And the many commissioned objects, pieces that reflect on these collections travel along the gray inlay, the gray inside of the lids. So you can see them hanging outside of the drawer. We even made an audio tour, so you can now completely follow the narrative of all the spaces in a row. And I sincerely hope you will find inspiration after this immensely rich and layered overview of 26 cases, which also happens to be in alphabet, including over 25 commissioned works and over more than 150 collected works on display. And I want to thank everyone for making this possible. Thank you.
Okay, now we're almost there, guys. Just a few minutes of patience yet, and we would like to share with you introductory video of the exhibition, and after that, for who would like, you can take a look at the exhibition itself, or if you prefer, you could go on the rooftop and have a nice sip of a fresh beer and some nice music. Okay, thanks.